Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Helen, and I'm a volunteer for the Paul and Stephen Spiritist Center. And today we will be discussing the topic, I'm worthy. But before we start, we always like to center ourselves and connect with our spiritual mentors and guides so we can take the most advantage of what we're learning and what we're listening to so we can really implement it into our daily lives. So if you want to close your eyes or not and follow me. So as we relax, gather our thoughts, and connect with our higher spirits, with the higher spirits and guides that have all the interest in our growth, in our development, we ask them to inspire us and guide us and improve our understanding of what's going to be discussed here today so we can better ourselves and we can make a contribution to the world around us and we can grow as human beings. So please stay with us. So be it. So like I said, the topic is I'm worthy. So I'm going to start with a question because I like to ask questions to get the minds kind of started. So, are we worthy? That's the first question. The second question is, are we worthy all the time? Is there a time where we are not worthy? And by worthy, I'm talking about worthy to the eyes of God, to the eyes of our Creator. Just reminding that according to the Spiritist teachings, God is the source of all that is. So according to that, are we worthy? And are we worthy all the time? And were we worthy in our first incarnations when we had only started our development as humans? What do you guys think? So I'm going to make many references today to Jesus' teachings, because if we look at the Spirit's book in question 625, the Spirits tell us that the person who walked on earth, the spiritual teacher, that was model of highest standards was Jesus. So if we had to follow a model and a guide, they recommended we follow Jesus' teaching. So today I'm going to reference many of the things that Jesus brought because he spoke beautifully about divine providence, of how God protects us and loves us all the time. So if we look at John 10:34, Jesus says that he says, you are God's. And the reason he said that was because people were claiming that he was saying that he was the Son of God, and that was blasphemy. And he said, no, you don't understand. You are God's. We are all from divine, like all our essence is divine. We were all created by God. So everything that exists is of divine nature. So I come back to that question. Am I worthy? Are we worthy? Is anything that's from a divine essence not worthy to the eyes of God? And the answer is no, because God created everything out of love, and so everything that is perfect, even if our perception of it seems that it's not perfect, that it's wrong, that it's not just, but there is a reason behind everything that we see, everything that we experience, even if at this point in time we do not understand. So to that answer, are we worthy? Yes, we are worthy to the eyes of God. And are we worthy? Like, have we always been worthy? Is there a time where we're not worthy? And the answer is yes, we have always been worthy, and no, there wasn't a time where we were not worthy, not to the eyes of God, because of our divine essence. Now, we are on a learning journey, like an evolutionary journey. So we were created simple and ignorance, as the spirits tell us, and through our many incarnations, we are evolving and becoming true human beings, in the sense of working towards perfection. So everything we're doing, we're learning. So if we make a parallel with a baby when it's born, it doesn't know how to speak, how to grab things, how to do anything, how to walk, how to sit properly. Does that make the baby less worthy than somebody that sits and speaks? And the answer is no, of course not. Why? Because the baby hasn't learned that yet. Will the baby make mistakes? 100%, because that's part of learning. Will we make mistake as spiritual or teenage children? Yes, we will make mistakes. And that's part of the journey. It's very important that we don't stay in the mistakes. And we're gonna get to that when we talk about the law of progress, because we're gonna mainly be talking about two laws that will really help us understand us being worthy. One is the law of progress, the other is the law of work or labor, which are all divine laws. And the law of progress states that humanity is continuously progressing. And you can find that. Let me just find where. Give me 1 second. It's in the Spirit's books, question 778. So humanity is continuously progressing. That's what the Spirit says. So we are always becoming better and better. Every time, like every reincarnation, we improve in something. We might be stagnant for a while, but that starts really, really to bother us, and it shows up as suffering, and then that brings the desire to change or to have things better. And that's something that we have since we were created, that desire for improvement, for good things in our lives, like a search for good things, like for pleasurable things, and walking away from pain. So that's one of the motivators for us as we started our spiritual journey. It doesn't have to be like that for us right now. We can choose to evolve without having to have pain to do that. But that's how it was. So coming back to the sense of being worthy or not, because we are on this journey, sometimes what we do, like I said, we were going to make mistakes. What we do is not okay. And the thing is, sometimes we know it's not okay, but we still do it. And in Romans 7:19, Paul of Tarsus, he says he states that beautifully. I'm going to read just to make sure, and you guys can go there and check. So it's Romans 7:19. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do, that I do. So he was bringing an information that the spirits later, responding to Kardec, said that sometimes intellectual development happens before our moral progress. Because the Kardec asked the spirits, does moral progress follow intellectual progress? Say you learn something intellectually and then morally you change. And the spirits answered, and I'm going to read it just because I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. They said this would be the normal sequence. However, it doesn't automatically happens that way. So if we look at what Paul said, we can clearly see, Paul of Tarsus, we can clearly see that intellectually he could already grasp some concepts like we do. He understood that was not okay, but morally he was still catching up. And that happens to us. And when we have that gap, that buffer between knowing that that's not okay and actually putting that into practice, that is very painful, because it seems like we're not there yet, and we really aren't. But that really bothers us, that gap between knowing what we're supposed to do and not doing what we already know that we're supposed to do. And Paul of Tarsus says that beautifully. And that kind of feeds into the law of progress. We're progressing, sometimes intellectually. We can clearly see that on the planet, our intellectual progress has gone way beyond our moral development. So our awareness of caring for others, that's still catching up with our intellect, like how we developed intellectually. And the Spirit says that whatever it is that we do that's a positive occupation or something, a worthy occupation, it constitutes a form of work. And why do I say that? Because the law of progress and the law of work are extremely interconnected. The Spirits say in the Spirit's book that we progress through our labor. And that's why I brought that in. That labor is not just physical work. It's any word. I'm going to use every useful occupation is work. That's the correct word. Forgive me because I didn't read. And you can find that in question 675 of the Spirit's book. So Kardec asked if work was just physical, and they said no. Every useful occupation constitutes work. And the way we evolve is through work. Work on ourselves and work on the outside. So volunteering, yes, work. Studying, yes, work, which is really good. And so if we look back, are we worthy? Yes. Are we worthy all the time? Yes. Have we been worthy since we were created? Yes, despite we're learning. We're on our way to perfection. So why do we feel that discomfort of feeling unworthy sometimes? So there's a gap between us understanding what's okay and doing we're supposed to do, what's good, what's ethical, and that causes a discomfort. And that might be in an external level towards others, but interesting enough, that also happens within ourselves. So when we don't take care of ourselves, when we don't move ourselves and go with the flow of progress and the law of work, we feel incredibly bad after sometimes. And there should be a balance between work and rest. And when that balance isn't okay, that feeling of not being enough or not being worthy because we're not getting what we want may also kick in. If we rest too much, we're not following the law of work, isn't it? And if we work excessively without taking care of ourselves, that also is part of the law of progress. We have to be continuously progressing, but we have to learn how to love ourselves and others. So that all aligns with that. So now we found out one of the motives, okay? Because if we look at the findings of psychology and aspects of human behavior, we'll see that when we don't keep our promises that we make to ourselves, when we don't understand our needs and our boundaries, and we don't listen to that, that actually gives us a sense of low self-worth, low self-esteem, low confidence even. When we don't follow up what we say we're going to do, when we don't care for ourselves, when we don't understand the things that I just said, like boundaries and needs, that also gives us a sense of low self-worth. It's not that we're not worthy. It's just that we're not going with the flow of the laws of nature, the divine laws. So what can we do? Let me see how, we still have time. That's good. So what is it that we can do to actually start regaining that confidence and feeling like we are worthy? If we look at the Gospel according to Spiritism, and it's chapter 25, chapter 25 states, "Seek and you shall find. That is such a beautiful, beautiful teaching that Jesus brought us. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So that's where he says, and I'm going to read as well. That's when he says, ask and it shall be given. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be open unto you. For all those who ask, receive. For those who seek, they will find. And for those who knocked at the door, it shall be open unto them. And then he continues saying, what you as parents and caregivers, if the person that you're taking care of asks for a bread, would you give this person a stone, or this child a stone, your son or the person you're caring for? No. If they ask for fish, would you give them a serpent? No. So God, which is divine perfection, wouldn't do that with us, which are his creation and his children, as per se. So what is it that we have to do? And nothing that Jesus said was without purpose, like everything had a why. So if we look at first you see, if you ask, and then you seek, and then you knock. If you look at the ask is where you really understand the concept of what is it that I need, what is it that I want, and then you ask for that. The second step, people forget, which is the seek. And the seeking first is knowing what is it that you truly need as a spiritual being for your progress. Because it might not be what you want at that moment. And what you're going to receive from the universe, from God, is what you need to become a better human being, and not what you want if that's not aligned with this law of progress. So first you ask, and then you seek. So you seek to understand what is it that you really need, and then you move. There's an action involved in seeking. And you're going to really work to get what you want. And that work, like I said, the word work is any useful occupation, as the spirits say. It might be waiting. Waiting might be that, the action that you have to take. Be patient and wait. It might not be that, but it might be that. So you asked, and then you started seeking. If we look at, I don't know if you know that passage where Jesus multiplies the loaves of bread and the fish. And just to give context, Jesus was teaching, and there were thousands of people paying attention to what he was saying. And there was a time people started feeling uncomfortable. They started feeling hungry. And the disciples came to Jesus and said, look, we have to let them go to the city because they don't have anything to eat. And Jesus says, why don't you feed them? And they were really concerned. They said, we don't have food for everyone. And Jesus says something very important, and that's the part of what I'm saying here. He said, what is it that you have? Bring me what you have. He says something like that. And you can find that in Mark, just so if you want to go there and check what I'm saying, that it's not something that I'm getting out of my head. It's Mark chapter 6, and it's from items or sentences 37 to 44. So he says, what is it that you have? Bring it to me. How many bread and how much fish? How much bread and how much fish? And they came and they said, we have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. It's not going to be enough. And Jesus said, I will feed them. Give it to me and I'll feed them. And that's what happened. We know as spiritists that the act of feeling full is in a spiritual way. And I'm not going to go into that right now, but looking at this metaphor, what we need to do is we have to give our contribution. So within our ability, What is it that we can give? And then the whole universe and God and the higher spirits, they will help us to get to where we need to get with what we have to offer. And what we have to offer, if it's our best, it's always enough. That's important to say, because maybe, like they said, there are thousands of people. This definitely is not enough, but it is enough in that situation. It was enough for Jesus, and obviously it is enough for our Creator taking care of us. So if we seek, and in that way, like giving our best, which is what the law, the essence of the law of work says, help yourself and the heavens will help you. So if you help yourself, the heavens will help you. And that's written. That's the basis of the law of work. So we already know that if we ask, it will be given to us. And if we seek, we shall find. So we worked on the asking, the seeking, and what about the knock? And it shall be open unto you. So then, after you did everything that you could, you put all your effort, you really have to knock. And what happens when you knock and you're at someone's door? You have to wait until the door is open unto you. So the waiting, the patience, and that's where the divine providence kicks in. One of the things that I truly believe we have to develop, and that's all about this chapter 25, it's trusting that divine providence will kick in if we are doing our best at any given time. And that's what Jesus said. And if we follow, let me see if we have time. We still have a little bit of time. What Jesus continues to say in this chapter, because he says, observe the birds in the sky. He starts talking about, don't be too concerned about gathering gold. And that didn't mean that we're not supposed to go through comfort. That's not what he meant. He meant we shouldn't be too preoccupied with material things if we are doing what we are supposed to do for our progress, for our spiritual progress, because things will come. Opportunities will come. Like I said, we have to put in something as well, but opportunities will show up. And we should really, really care and trust that whatever comes our way is what's going to be best for us in that moment to improve whatever it is, or to change whatever it is in our way of seeing things, so we can progress quicker, so we can develop even further to where we are. So looking back at what we just said in this last part, what is it that we have to do to make sure that we have that sense that we are worthy? And if we're asking for something and we're not getting, it's not us not being worthy. It's our understanding of that situation, and maybe not knowing that what comes our way is God working with us so we can get to our happiness. And if we learn how to trust that, then yes, we'll see daily how that goes about, daily. There's a passage, I think it was St. Francis of Assisi, and I heard that somebody was doing a lecture. He said that he went, it was winter, it was extremely cold, and they have vote for being poor, like not having any means. So they weren't carrying much things, and they arrived at this convent and they knocked at the door. And the person who was there opened and said, "Who are you?" And they introduced themselves, and they didn't recognize anyone. And the person inside said, "We can't open up for strangers," and closed the door. And the other people that were around St. Francis of Assisi said, "Oh my God, we're going to die. What are we going to do?" And he later said that he actually felt happy because for the first time he was actually putting his life totally and completely trusting on whatever it is that divine providence wanted for him. So he said, we have to trust God. We have to trust the providence that whatever it is that's best for us, it's going to happen. Oh, but we're going to die. Well, if we're going to die, that's going to be what's best for us. They didn't die. In a few minutes, somebody else came by. Somebody inside said, what happened? Oh, there's some strangers outside. And this person actually knew Francis of Assisi. And they opened and they survived, obviously. So that is kind of the level of trust that we have to start developing. That when we put in all our effort and things go pear-shaped, as they say, there must be a reason. We should ask understanding for that. What might be the reason? What is it that I have to change? Change our negative self-talk internally and know that we are worthy. It has nothing to do with worth, or that we're not good enough, that we're not lovable, or that we're fake because we know things but we don't actually do it. It's really about what is it in this opportunity that is bringing the best out of myself. What is it that this opportunity is bringing me that's bringing out my best, or at least there's an effort to bring out my best. So that's what I had to bring. I hope it was of value to all of you listening. So in a very quick recap, we are worthy because, as Jesus said, we are gods, like we're divine creatures. We're created out of God's love. And everything in the universe has a purpose, and it's a good purpose. We can trust that because we know that God is ever loving and pure love. Not even loving, is love, is truth, is justice. So everything is in the right place. So if we feel that sense of unworthiness, it might be that we already have an understanding intellectually, but our moral progress hasn't caught up, and we have to work on that. But it might also be that we're not taking care of ourselves. And something that we can do is follow what Jesus said, and that's in chapter 27 or 25 of the Gospel According to Spiritism. But you can find it in Matthew 6:37 to 44, which is know how to ask and ask, because it shows that you are interested. Demonstrate interest that that's something that you want. And then seek, put yourself into action. What is it that you have that you can offer? And then wait and trust the divine providence that whatever that it is that comes out of that is for your own good. So as we finish, we always like to send positive vibrations to the world and actually to all the places where they are in need. So if you want to join me, I will guide you, and I will close my eyes because I concentrate better that way, like I said. So we would like to thank all our spiritual mentors that are always with us, encouraging us to change, to understand, to improve, and to continue our walk towards perfection. And as we feel our heart space, we imagine that we are concentrating love, harmony, peace, and we're sending that out to all the places on this planet that might be suffering, where there might be war or despair or hunger or violence. May all of them receive our vibrations of love. But we also send vibrations of love to all the people that are truly trying to progress and help society. May they continue strong, and may they always have hope. You vibrate to all of those who are extremely desperate, so they can feel this love and this harmony and this peace. We also ask for all the leaders, spiritual leaders and actual leaders of government, so they can actually do what's the best for the country and for our world. And we come back thanking and asking protection for everyone that we love, the ones that we have trouble loving, and for ourselves. And may we have a wonderful week. So be it. So thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye.